Yeah, I'd like to introduce this engine to everybody out there. It's kind of my own design. This is a 3.0 Chrysler Mitsubishi V6. It has roller rockers, which is standard in these engines, and this engine's fairly bulletproof. It can you can get up to 1,000 horsepower on them with a top end work, bottom end work, turboed or twin turboed actually. Without any work, top and bottom, you can get about 300 horsepower out of them. Like I said, this is my own design. I'll walk you through this thing real quick. Pretty much what that is a high velocity blower, and it runs off of a 50 amp DC voltage energy source, and right now it has two high velocity air filters. This air filter here runs down into the standard stock throttle body, which is about 48 millimeters right there. This right here is the LT1 throttle body from a Corvette, Firebird, any kind of GM product. And what I've done is I've knocked two holes, mounted this thing, tapped and bored, or tapped and just mounted it on top of here, on top of the plum. It has an independent cable source inside the cockpit. I'll show you that later. Right there, runs the throttle body. It has a 7th injector. This 7th injector introduces fuel from the rear windshield washer reservoir. Now the reservoir only holds about probably a third of a gallon, maybe a half, and it's on an independent switch, and I kick it on when I want. As you can see, it runs in a corkscrew around this can. This can gets filled with dry ice, and it super cools that fuel before it drops into this intake right here, and then goes on down into the throttle body. If you know anything about nitrous oxide, what nitrous oxide does is super cools the fuel molecule. It drops and shrinks it, and the process of nitrous oxide is when you shrink a fuel molecule and it ignites at a greater force than its normal size. Let's see here. So that's kind of an interesting thing people flip out about. It's just a little relay. Cools down these, it's a little muffin fan that cools down the relays, because they do get hot for some reason. I don't know why they told me to do that. Let me see. This is a 3-inch intake, sucks air into the LT1 throttle body. Okay, and like I said, it's independent, and when I open that thing up, it gets a lot of pull. It's introducing additional air. The computer reads it and dumps more fuel. Plus, with my 7th injector, I'm introducing more fuel. Right here is where I would like to put a second LT1 throttle body right on top of that plenum. I'm going to plate it up just like the other one. And I'll have approximately 150 plus millimeters of air coming in. Right now it's sitting at about 112, and when I run this thing stock, which I can because everything's independent, I can just flip switches, pull throttle cables. It runs about 48 millimeters with the stock throttle body. Right here's a 12-inch, you can't see it that well, let me try to get a better shot. It's a 12-inch electric fan. and there's space for another one. This thing runs fairly cool because one thing I did do, you see this shroud right here? There's an exhaust manifold that comes down and wraps around here and connects to the back side of this exhaust, and that's like a little tunnel, and when I kick on my fan, it blows air and shoots it and dumps it out of the back of the engine compartment. I've got hot ignition. I've got aftermarket coil right there. I got hot wires and hot plugs. Let me see what else on this thing. Really, the interesting part about this whole deal is this LT1 throttle body right here. People look at this and they just can't believe it's on there, but it is. So let me show you. Here are the slugs that I actually took off of that plenum. So that's the additional air that's getting in when I open that up. If you can see right here, this is a throttle cable that I got going to that throttle body. Right here is my drag switch. When I want to run that 7th injector, kick it on, and then when I run my run, I just flip it like that, shuts it off. This right here was supposed to give me my PSI boost, and I was usually running about an extra 7.5, 6 pounds of thrust with that blower, plus with the fuel I was getting an additional 16 pounds of fuel being dumped in that 7th injector. And I put a little fan in here to cool me down because when you run in the summertime, you have your windows up. Here's an interesting thing about this thing. It's got a stage 1. You can see that there. It's a stage 1. I guess they call this thing it's a stage 1. I don't know what they actually call it, but what it does is it tells the engine I can turn this up or down, okay? And what it does, it tells the engine that it's running cool. And on a cold start, your engine pumps in more fuel. So that's another way I get more fuel into this thing. It's got a push button ignition, and of course that right there is the fan switch. It has a kill switch, and you always want to try to be safe. You never know what's going to happen, but I got a mounted fire extinguisher that can be pulled off. I was going to run this into the engine compartment, but this thing runs really good, man. It's a safe vehicle. Right here is my variable control for my blower motor, okay? And let me see here. This is the hood looking through the windshield. I was going to do ram air induction. I decided to do, or a cowl induction. I decided to do ram air. I used to have ram air on this, and when I introduce that second LT1 throttle body, I will probably put twin ram air systems that run into each one of those LT1s. And here's a little graphic I had put on there, kind of interesting. This vehicle has a wing, and the wing provides the down drag, and it really doesn't come in effect till high miles per hour, but it's my own design. I put a tail light in it right there. It has a flow-through design, so it kind of acts as a flow-through, but it does cause some downward drag, keeps the rear end going, and I do like some. As you can tell, this is